The study of the human genome has enabled scientists to perform many new experiments that will essentially lead to a full understanding of one's genome. The human genome consists of nitrogenous bases adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, which code for your specific traits passed down to you by your parents through the creation, which is meiosis, and combination of gametes. According to NPR's Rob Stein, advances in technology have made it much easier, faster, and less expensive to do a whole genome sequencing. Falling costs have given rise to speculation that it could soon become a routine part of medical care, perhaps as routine as checking your blood pressure. Genome sequencing is the spelling out of all 3 billion letters in a person's genetic code. Begin, knowledge of genome sequencing and examination of the human genome have enabled scientists and doctors to perform many new and helpful experiments, though these experiments always come with a few pros and cons. Scientists have been able to fix some of the world's largest problems through their knowledge of genome sequencing. For example, all around the world there are mosquitoes, and oftentimes they are disease-carrying because of their genetics. Scientists have found a way to eliminate the bad genes in a disease-carrying mosquito. This is through a technology called CRISPR, or clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats used to edit genomes and correct mutations. Let's say you have a mosquito carrying malaria. If CRISPR is used on it, enzyme Cas9 can edit the genome so that the mosquito no longer carries malaria. Next, lineage discovery is a crucial part of the discovery of the human genome. It makes a large economic impact as businesses like 23andMe or Ancestry.com were created to discover someone's lineage based off of their DNA. Also, through a process called gel electrophoresis, when DNA samples are given from a baby and possible fathers, GTAs are then added to those DNA sequences, and then an added electrical charge to a gel in which DNA samples are in. Then, whichever father has the most matching DNA sequences based off of this gel, after the electronic charge is in it, is the father. Women who might not know the father of their baby are able to find this out, who the father is, based off of this process. Finally, criminal tracing. If a crime were to be committed by someone and they left behind a possible strand of hair, a drop of blood, or anything where DNA can be traced from, police can test their victims for their DNA, making it easier to rightfully and justly convict someone with obvious and insightful proof. Also, if someone is in jail and is wrongfully convicted, they could ask for a DNA test in order to prove that they were innocent and convict the guy that actually committed the crime. A common case of catching a criminal based off of their DNA would be the Golden State Killer, who was traced by his sample of DNA left behind on the crime scene. Scientists have the ability to read your DNA and assess data that comes from it that might code for a genetic disease. Knowing that you have this restriction placed on you by a genetic disease and that someday it might affect you is quite a burden to put on a person. Imagine living your entire life knowing that you will one day become incredibly sick and die. This can affect people's lives in a major way. There are stories of people who get completely left on their own because of their disease, simply because people can be selfish and not want to have a burden placed on them which comes from somebody else's genetic disease. Yes, no matter what the disease is, it will occur. But knowing about your disease causes people to act selfish and large burdens for those affected by the genetic disease. In this video, we can see scientists preparing to perform PCR, which makes millions of copies of your DNA in order for doctors to read and be able to diagnose genetic diseases. This brings me to my next point. There are pharmaceutical companies that are unwilling to pay the money in order to make antibiotic medicine that can help someone fight a genetic disease. This is a con due to pharmaceutical greed negatively affecting those with a serious genetic disease. Because of this greed, people have no option instead of just living with their disease instead of having a way to fix it. Finally, as there are companies that can find your ancestry based off of your DNA, if you were to complete this process and get your results back only to find out that you were related to a very well-known criminal or maybe a slave owner, you wouldn't be very happy to find this out. Also, oftentimes websites publish your pedigrees or ancestries after you complete one of these tests. If people were to look you up on one of these websites or companies and realize that you have a criminal relative, it may result in that person losing their trust in you and immediately gaining a bad impression of you.